Welcome to the Christian Author Show. From fiction to enlightenment, we offer you all forms of faith-inspired books. So sit back and relax. Here's your host, Danielle Hampson.
A story of lies, deception, and forgiveness is our topic today. Welcome to the Christian Author Show. I'm Danielle Hampson. My guest has been passionate about writing all his life. His ideas for his writings have been conceived in dreams, which he firmly believes are inspired by God. The novel that he presents to us today is the first in a series. His name is JohnL.Rothdiener, and the title of his novel is The Quest for Forgiveness. She was on a collision course with her past. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
John, in just a few sentences, would you please summarize your book for us?
Yes, The Quest for Forgiveness will take you on a journey of a young girl from her life at an orphanage in Kuwait to her life as the world's most successful entertainer. The main character faces dire consequences created by her choices as a young teenager. Basically, it's the peril and the result of a teenager's lie, which sends an innocent man to prison. Eventually, her past catches up to her, and she must face the consequences. It's a story filled with lies and deceit along a path that leads to forgiveness and redemption.
Now, most authors have one very specific reason for writing a particular book. What was your reason for writing this one?
Well, my books come what I believe are God-given dreams. This one in particular came late one night while I slept, and I quickly jumped out of bed. As I stood there for a moment collecting my thoughts, my wife woke and asked, "What are you doing?" And I just told her, I said, "I just had a dream, and I've got to write it down before I forget it." By sunrise, I had the entire novel drafted. A month later, when the novel was finished, I added 2 chapters to tie the pieces of the story together. Now, whenever I have a dream, I'll wake up and run to the computer before I forget the plot.
So tell us a little bit about the main character. Who is the main character?
Now, the main character is a young girl by the name of Brianna Bays, which is her stage name. She is a musical prodigy. She has an incredible voice and plays the guitar and piano like a master. She was adopted by an American couple at the age of 6. The reader will follow her life as an orphan, a young teenager, a runaway, and eventually the world's most popular entertainer. Because of a life-changing encounter, Brianna sets out on a quest to discover who she is, where she was born, and who her real parents were.
Now, where was she born, and how significant is that in the story?
It's very, very significant where she was born because it ties everything together, how she ended up in an orphanage. It's very much part of her quest. All she knew was she was adopted from a Kuwaiti orphanage. That's all she knew. Through her quest, she finds she was actually born in Iraq during the Gulf War and raised as a Muslim in various orphanages till she was 6. She was among 20 young girls which were in the process of being sent to Asia to be used to make adult movies, and that's become a major problem in the world today, child trafficking.
Right.
Fortunately, all the girls were rescued and returned to their families or put up for adoption.
Now, why is she different from others who are her own age?
Well, like the others in the orphanage she was with, they all were of Arab descent. But she not only had jet black hair, she had bright blue eyes. And she had a birthmark of a heart above her right eye. The children in the orphanage called her Wishmay, which means tattoo. And she believes that birthmark was the reason she was never adopted. She felt flawed.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the other characters. What are some of those other characters in the book?
Other characters. Let's start with her adoptive parents, the Andersons. They were from Mesa, Arizona. Ethan, her adoptive father, was a university professor, and Susan, her adoptive mother, was an Arizona beauty queen. Now, the young girl and her adoptive father got along very well. He quickly realized her music talent, and they spent a lot of time together writing and performing music. But she and her adoptive mother, they clashed big time. Being a beauty queen, her mother felt the birthmark was hideous and considered the child to be an embarrassment to her and the family. The teenager eventually runs away and comes in contact with a Sonia Ellis, big-time lawyer, who becomes her manager. And Sonia discovered Brianna singing in a restaurant and helped her skyrocket to the top of the entertainment world. Then you have her bodyguards, Conrad, Jonathan, Bruno, and Kathy. And there are others which come to light during the novel, her 3 siblings, her uncles, and her grandparents, and others. But to talk about them would reveal too much of the storyline, and I don't want to ruin it for the reader.
Sure, of course. Now, you mentioned that the adoptive parents were from Mesa, Arizona. Is that where the story is taking place?
No, actually, Bush is an entertainer. It takes place all around the world. The opening chapter begins at a concert being performed by the music sensation Brianna Bays in her early 20s and already the number one entertainer in the world. She sends her manager on a quest to find out who she is. And money was no object because the star had a lot of it. So her quest takes her back to Kuwait and eventually Iraq, where she finds she was born during the first Gulf War again. After she was adopted, she lived in Mesa, Arizona. Eventually, she runs away to L.A., lives in the streets. At age 16, she realizes if she wants to make something of herself, she must do it. She decides to start a new life in a new town. So she changes her name from Janet Anderson to Brianna Bays and heads to Nashville, where she gets a job as a waitress. The story will also take you to Paris, France, and Germany. You will find her entertaining the American troops every chance she gets. She even entertains them aboard an aircraft carrier in the Gulf. So you can see the story would take you many places and to many events.
Now, would you touch on some of the life's trials that are in the book?
Wow, there are a lot of them, especially relative to today's society. It's a story of a teenager growing up in a complex world. I guess let's begin with unloved, unwanted children, exploited children, child trafficking, adoption, foster homes, runaways. There's a couple chapters deal with a court drama, living on the streets, struggling for each identity, copyright infringement, success and how to deal with it. Especially as quick as success came to Brianna Bays, there's also a struggle between her Muslim roots and her Christian family. Where does she fit? What does she believe? The trials in this girl's life are numerous.
Where did you come up with the name Quest, and why the selection of that name?
Quest was selected because of the contents of the novel. In the succeeding novels, I wanted to have a series, so I wanted to have each one be a quest. All of them furnish answers to life's most urgent questions. Yeah, each novel pierces the soul, often encouraging the readers through difficulties and trials that they're facing in their own lives. You know, each person holds that spark of hope for a better place, better life, and a better tomorrow. Really, all of us are on a quest of our own.
Right. John, how important is the element of faith in your books?
Life-changing faith in God is the underlying theme. Each of my books in the Quest series has certain illustrations of the power of faith in the characters' lives. In the quest for forgiveness, for example, Brianna must learn to forgive those who have hurt her, and she must learn to ask for forgiveness to those she has hurt. Both are hard. We all must face some type of forgiveness at certain times in our lives. We're all human, and we all make mistakes. It's owning up to those mistakes that's so hard.
Right. What is the message in your book that you want your readers to really grasp?
Forgiveness. No matter what you have done, no matter what others have done to you, where there's hurt, there must be forgiveness. Either, if they don't accept forgiveness, you've done what God asked of you, because bitterness will eventually destroy and rob a person of their peace and joy. The emotional ups and downs of Brianna Bays in the quest for forgiveness is a perfect illustration.
Why do you think it is so difficult for all of us to, number one, to forgive others, but most importantly, to even forgive ourselves?
Boy, that's a tough one. I would say probably because they're ashamed. They don't want to confront the person, and that's usually most of the people don't want to confront each other. And that's something we all have to do. We have to learn to confront each other and say, hey, you hurt me because you did this. And so many times the person will say, gee, I didn't know I did that. And basically that's what I would say the reason.
Does your character in your book encounter some of that along the way?
Oh, yes, a lot of it. Her manager continues to say, you have to forgive, you have to let Jesus take over, you have to put this in your past, but it's just eating her up inside. And mainly not just because she didn't know who she was, she had no idea where she came from or who her parents was, but that lie that she had told had destroyed a family, and she could not forgive herself for that. And finally, she realized that she had to do it. If she did not, she would continue to fall, and which she did. She had an emotional breakdown.
Right. John, who do you feel fits the profile of a typical reader of your book?
I would like to say everyone can read this book, and everyone can enjoy. I've talked to many who have read it and said that they read straight through without even putting it down. Now, it's not a He-Man, shoot-'em-up, kill-'em book. It does have a couple chapters in where the young star, with the help of the United States military, must confront certain family members from her past, members that she has never met. And it has some very serious and thought-provoking topics in it. One of my book reviews said it was a G-rated book about R-rated material, which it is, but it's tastefully written. Mainly it's a book which encourages the reader to search their own life. Teenagers and young adults will enjoy reading about the dramatic changes in the young star. But it's also for the average reader who just wants to sit back, kick off his shoes, and read an entertaining story about an ordinary life which becomes extraordinary.
I like those words, an ordinary life that becomes extraordinary. I think that's very uplifting. Now, John, other than, of course, selling your book, what do you hope to accomplish with it?
You know, my publisher at Navigator Books once said to me, if just one life is changed because of your book, if just one person comes to know the Lord, it'll be worth it. I echo those same sentiments. I may never sell 1 million copies, but if just one person, especially one young girl, reads this book and her life is changed, or she comes to the terms of the past and opens up a dialogue with those she has hurt, those she has had lied about, and asks for forgiveness, it'll be worth it. That's all I hope for. And maybe, just maybe someday, I'll receive a letter in the mail or an email or a phone call, and the voice on the other end says, thanks to your book, The Quest for Forgiveness, I began the healing process in my family. At that point, selling 1 million copies is not important. Healing in that one life will be all that matters. That
will definitely make your day, and I hope that it indeed will happen to you. Now, John, you are an experienced writer, so is it safe to assume that there will be another book?
Yes, I have agreed to write 5 novels for Navigator Books in the Quest series. The Quest for Forgiveness is published. The Quest for Freedom is at the publisher right now, and 1 is being edited currently. 2 more are planned. The Quest for Freedom will be released shortly. It'll be followed by yet the unknown title about a 10-year-old girl who is everything all of us should be. It is a dramatically different story which would touch the hearts of all who read it.
Well, that's going to keep you very, very busy. My goodness, you're going to have a lot of books coming out. That's wonderful. Now, by the way, do you write exclusively in the Christian category, or do you extend your writing into other type of books?
The Quest series is exclusively in the Christian genre. In the Quest for Forgiveness, the plan of salvation is very powerful. It had to be. The Quest for Freedom is more a book on faith, and the book involving the little girl Sky will be along the same lines as forgiveness. It is geared towards faith, but at the same time, the plan of salvation is brought forth.
You know, based on everything that you've told us here today, I get the feeling that your book, and probably the other ones as well, have the making of good movies.
Yes, my publisher says I have I write like it's a movie, and they would make good movies. I do have a potential for it to be this one to be made into a movie. Yes.
Well, that would be wonderful indeed. Well, while we're waiting for the movie, in what format is your book now available, and where can we purchase it?
The Quest for Forgiveness can be purchased on most online bookstores, like Amazon and Barnes & Noble, in both paperback and the Kindle format, the ebook. A few Christian bookstores like Christian Publisher Outlet carry the paperback. And you can also get more information on my websites, www.JohnL.Rothdiener, ROTHDIENER.com, or www.JohnL.Rothdiener, ROTHDIENER.com.
Okay, wonderful. John, I want to thank you for coming on the program today to share the information about your book, The Quest for Forgiveness. And I know that all of us are going to also look forward not only to reading this one, but also to the upcoming books in that series coming down the road. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, JohnL. Have a great day.
The Quest for Forgiveness is a story that leads to forgiveness and redemption. It will take the reader into the life of a flawed young girl as she transforms into a superstar. The story puts you into the life of the rich and famous and gives you understanding that they are all just like you and me. I do firmly believe that this has the making of a very good movie, so before you go and watch the movie, read the book. The title one more time is The Quest for Forgiveness. She was on a collision course with her past by author JohnL.Rothdiener. Go out there and get that book today. All right, ladies